A lot of people have labeled the shows as political humor, political satire. So what do you think the role of political satire is in American politics?
And I sort of think it's not new, right? I mean, if you look at like Greek comedies, if you look at the history of political satire and commentary, it's been there, it's been in our history. So their role, I think, in the contemporary political movement in the United States is fascinating because it's kind of bringing back this generation, it's bringing back the...
I've been so disengaged with the whole thing that they bring me back.
On a quest for sanity, over 200,000 Americans traveled to the National Mall in Washington, D.C. They came to answer a call from Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert for a million moderate march, timed just before a contentious midterm election. Stewart said that news media have enabled political rhetoric to be dominated by crude shouting and polarized ugliness. He and Colbert asked their viewers to travel, sometimes for thousands of miles, to respond to this increasingly irrational climate. We traveled to the rally to gauge how people made sense of and participated in the activities offered by the fake news program. We asked why and how participants of the rally answered Jon Stewart's clarion call for rationality. And how do they make sense of the media?
Yeah, somewhere down the line it seems the media stopped caring about uncovering the truth or what's really going on, and it was all about, like, you know, if it bleeds, it leads, you know, cults of personality. Like, I'm going to watch Glenn Beck and his version of the truth as opposed to, you know, really taking the time and figure out what's the best way to fix the problems in this country. So I think this rally is great to highlight that.
The media has been bought by a lot of corporations that have other agendas other than, you know, what is good for the country. They're more into short-term thinking as to how this country is going to progress. They forget that all of these people make up the country.
Unleash the media.
What? Could the biggest science project ever lead to the end of the world?
An enormous earthquake or a massive volcano eruption or asteroids smashing into the earth, will that happen?
The massive gas line ruptures, could it happen in your neighborhood?
How many sex offenders live in your neighborhood?
It's coming to the point in this country where we're starting to get extremist groups that are really they're starting to, like, turn some heads. Like, a lot of moderates are starting to listen to this nonsense that's going on. And a lot of people that maybe don't know exactly what's going on in the news are really influenced by that because, you know, they're being told by the news networks, you need to be afraid, you know, that all these bad things are going to happen to you and your family if you don't watch our news network. You know, you have to be aware of this stuff.
You know, just think it for yourself, and just because it's on the news or whatever you're watching ends in news, you shouldn't necessarily believe it.
Where we have the two parties bickering over things that are social issues that can't really be solved through policy instead of political issues, and as a result, individual Americans are going to the polls and voting or not voting and not really catching how it's actually going to affect them when they vote.
People are yelling at each other. That's the political backdrop in this country.
Re-unleash the media.
Progressivism is a cancer.
The Republican Party has gone completely brain dead.
The far left does not want the USA to defeat terrorism.
The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick.
The left believes Americans are stupid.
Republicans lie.
You cannot be a liberal and a Christian.
We have a village idiot in this country. It's called fundamentalist Christianity.
Islam is a lie from the pit of hell.
Atheists are parasites.
There is a gay and secular fascism in this country.
The Tea Partiers are misguided. I think they're racist.
Racism in this country is the exclusive province of the left.
Rush Limbaugh, overt racist.
Everybody knows liberals hate guns.
I think they are clinging to their guns and their religion.
Our government is all evil right now.
Barack Obama is the worst president in history.
Do you think the president's anti-Semitic?
I do.
This guy is, I believe, a racist.
In Scott Brown, we have an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, ex-new model.
Hollywood liberal is a Learjet limousine liberal that wants to tax everybody and be generous with everybody else's money. You know what our real problem is?
A country full of Joe the Plumbers.
Crazed teabaggers.
Criminal illegal aliens.
Far-right cranks. Far-left loons.
Right-wing nut jobs.
Practicing homosexuals.
The mainstream media.
Radical
imams,
Un-American bastards.
The Harvard elites, gun nuts, tree huggers, yahoos and birthers, Fabian socialists.
Crazies, let's say.
They are what's wrong with America.
No one is talking about issues. Everybody's using the same gigantic words that imply the other person's against freedom or against liberty or against, the Constitution, when that's definitely not true. And a lot of the people are trying to do something positive.
I'm really not afraid of gun owners. I'm not afraid of Muslims. I'm not afraid. I'm really not. Yeah. And that's how we feel. I mean, this Glenn Beck thing, everything's about fear and ratcheting it up and making people hate.
There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of high level of ignorance, which is being forced by the media. And
there is a portion of America, if not a majority of America, that is level-headed, that maybe doesn't have the time to, dress up in Nazi uniforms and, call Obama a Muslim, or, accuse him of being a fake Muslim or hating babies.
If we can engage in a little bit more civil and saneful way, I think we would be able to push America forward a little bit in a more civil manner. Sure. There's been a huge loss of civility in the last couple of years.
There are other people out there. You don't have to play to the minority groups on either side. You can reason with the rest of us too, and listen to us.
Everybody needs to calm down a little bit and acknowledge that everybody's doing the best they can and we're all in this together, and try to listen to each other.
So if you can't laugh at all this stuff, you're probably going to start crying.
The country's 24-hour Politico pundit perpetual panic conflictinator did not cause our problems, but its existence makes solving them that much harder. The press can hold its magnifying glass up to our problems, bringing them into focus, illuminating issues heretofore unseen. Or they can use that magnifying glass to light ants on fire. And then perhaps host a week of shows on the sudden, unexpected, dangerous flaming ant epidemic. If we amplify everything, we hear nothing. There are terrorists and racists and Stalinists and theocrats. But those are titles that must be earned. You must have the resume. Not being able to distinguish between real racists and Tea Partiers, or real bigots and Juan Williams or Rick Sanchez is an insult, not only to those people, but to the racists themselves who have put in the exhausting effort it takes to hate. Just as the inability to distinguish terrorists from Muslims makes us less safe, not more. The press is our immune system. If it overreacts to everything, we actually get sicker and perhaps eczema. And yet, with that being said, I feel good. Strangely, calmly good. Because the image of Americans that is reflected back to us by our political and media process is false.
And I think it's a good thing that he does this sort of thing. I think it clarifies some of the ridiculousness that goes on, and it points out things that we miss, that we hear people saying these things, and then, that's totally negative, and then they had done the same things a year before. And we need to see that. We need to see that they are talking out of both sides.
It's a sad commentary when you have to look at this show and say, God, I'm getting my news from them. I'm finding out that this guy said these lies 300 times, and now he's saying what he says is truth, and the news media is printing it as truth. And that's, to me, the key to this.
Right.
I mean, I'm just going to say what Jon Stewart's saying, is we need to take it down a few notches, and I think that's what he wants us to do.
And this was more about consciousness raising, kind of making an awareness more prevalent than an agenda.
Hey, we have our ideas too, but we don't necessarily believe that your ideas are bad or your ideas are going to be the end of America.
I'm only 23. There's a lot that I don't know about politics. There's a lot that I could stand to learn and that I could keep more abreast with. And with that being said, shows such as The Daily Show, you help bring to light things that I might not necessarily have known about.
He's laughing and he's critiquing the problem with the media. I think more than politics, it's a critique of the media and how the media deals with these people. I mean, it's always on to the next. You hit and you run, and you don't look, and you don't look carefully.
You know, in other rallies, I mean, you name it, anything from labor to same-sex marriage to whatever it is, it's kind of putting this opposition out. This is what we fear, this is what we are against. And this today, the feel for me at least was very different, was about, okay, what can we create if we truly unite and find a middle ground and kind of bring back some sanity to this political discourse.
And this was bringing us back together, restoring a unity. That we're all in this together. We're all same clunky little cars just trying to make it down the same road. We got to do it together or else we're doomed.
The rally's message, because the rally you have to include I don't know how many people came here. I guess the thousands of people who came, the hundreds of thousands of people who came here, you have to include that with the message.
People can get together and be positive and level-headed, and that's what makes this country great. And I think it's really important to have all these people come out and just have us all be positive and happy, and we love our country. And